What's going on, everybody? We are back for another edition of Podcast 129. My name is Jake Stinchcomb, and that is the one and only Tyler Vaughn to my right. Tyler, how we doing, man?
Doing good. I've had a good week of football this past week. It's an exciting season. I'm excited for what's to come.
Good. So, if you're listening or watching, however, you noticed that you did not hear Mr. Hunter Waldrop introduce everybody this tonight. He is at a important dinner and is not able to be here, but he will be back whenever we preview this next week. Today, me and Hunter, we're going to be talking about week 4, cleaning everything up, talking about what happened. So bear with us, as it might be a slow process as we go. We're going to have fun with it. I'm pumped up to talk. I'm glad that Hunter trusts us to take care of this. I feel like we're his old minions or elves or whatever, like doing the work for us. So I'm excited. Tyler, anything before we get started?
No, I'm good. Let's do it.
Let's dive right in. All right, Hunter with another banger graphic. Got the two really winners of the week there, Indiana and Texas Tech, which we're about to get into. But first and 10. Tyler, this is not really trivia, more of a discussion, really kind of opinionated. Two teams effed around and found out this week, big time, and that would be Utah and that would be Illinois. Illinois got boat raced on the road at Indiana in Bloomington. What was the score? 73-10, I believe, or 63-10. At first, it felt, which we'll get into the game a little bit more, but at first, it felt like we were in for a classic very early on. And after that, there was no game to watch. And then as far as Utah goes, the scoreboard doesn't really reflect how that game went. Majority of the time, Utah was within a score or 10 points for majority of the game. And at the end, Texas Tech finally broke away and won. But that game was a lot closer than it was. Kind of got exposed in a sense at home, especially. My question to you, what I want to know, in your opinion, I can read you both of these teams' schedules. Both teams are 3-1, and we're comparing Illinois and Utah. The reason I want to compare these two teams, both of them got exposed, did not play good. Nobody expected it. Vegas didn't expect that on neither spread. Both teams were closer than what their score showed. Both of these teams have also been picked to make the playoff by a big amount of people, especially Utah. Utah, I feel like everybody was talking about winning the Big 12 coming to this year. And then Illinois, a team, one of the most experienced teams in the country, with Brett Bielema, year 3, Luke Altmaier, I think one of the most experienced offensive lines in the country. So didn't expect that out of those two teams this weekend. I want to know, in your opinion, which team has the best path, or do you think is still alive as far as playoff hopes go? I'm going to read you their schedules. I'll start with Utah. So Utah's 3-1. They have a win at UCLA. Doesn't really mean much now. Cal Poly at home, at Wyoming, and then the Texas Tech loss. Their remaining schedule looks like at West Virginia, Arizona State at home, at BYU, Colorado at home, Cincinnati at home, at Baylor, Kansas State at home, and at Kansas. So you're really looking at West Virginia. That's this Saturday. Sneaky spot. I think they're over 2 touchdown favorites, but West Virginia, Rich Rod's got that team hyped up. They beat Pitt a few weeks ago. And then Arizona State, that'll be a tough one next Saturday at home, or there's actually a bye. Then they go to BYU, who is now ranked. Another sneaky game at Baylor. And then at Kansas to close out the year. So at this point for me, as far as looking at Utah's schedule, I don't see any guarantees outside of like Kansas State and Colorado. Like, I think Cincinnati can sneak up on them. Cincinnati's played manageable football, serviceable football so far. Kansas State, I would say that's a guarantee at home. Kansas State's like the Clemson of the Big 12 right now. So kind of some coin flips. I'll go to Illinois, and then I'll let you take off with it. Illinois is 3-1 now. Obviously, Western Illinois, week 1 win. Blew out Duke on the road. Western Michigan win, and then got blew out by Indiana. This Saturday, they play USC at home. USC is ranked number 21. At Purdue, Ohio State at home. At Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, both at home, at Wisconsin, and Northwestern. You have to go one, and you have to win 1 out of 3 games, in my opinion. That's USC, Ohio State, and Washington. You have to win 1. Really, you got to win 2 out of 4 if you add Maryland in there. Maryland's kind of sneaky good. So, yeah, my personal opinion, I really am kind of back and forth on this, and I think the answer is Utah. But watching that entire game on Saturday, I don't think Utah's got it. I don't see any downfield threat in that offense, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But I think Illinois is the more complete team for one. We've seen Illinois go on the road and dominate, which it was Duke, but Duke kind of bounced back this week at home against NC State. I think that Illinois, they have too experienced and a veteran-led team to lay down, and the season's over. I'm not saying Utah doesn't have that, but I didn't see anything from Utah that like Illinois. I've seen them get the run game going with Caden Fegan. They have some guys they can get it to in space, like is it Hank or Henry Beatty, their receiver out there. Luke Altmaier's a good quarterback. He's been in this position before. He's played in a bunch of big-time games. Damn, it just didn't translate for me on Saturday. I think Illinois, it's going to be a tough path for both teams. But I think Illinois has the better chance at this point right now. While you're talking, I'm going to look and see at the odds. I didn't even think to look at that up, who has the higher chance. But I'll let you take away with it and see what you think.
So as you were going through the schedules, I was telling myself, like I was counting how many losses I think that how many games I think they'll lose from here on out. I told myself that I think Utah has 3 guaranteed losses on that schedule right now. I don't think that they're as complete as we thought they were. And I think that a big part of their identity was that they weren't going to get beat at home. They were supposed to be so good at home. And then, they got beat at home. And I think that kind of exposes them a little bit. So I think, and then when I heard Illinois' schedule, I counted 2 that I think they will for sure lose. And then there were 2 or 3 that I think were sneaky. I think you mentioned the Maryland game. I also thought about the Rutgers game. Rutgers has got a solid team this year. I mean, we saw them play. Yeah, we saw them play against Iowa last Friday, and they've got a solid team over there. And so I think that right now, I would say Illinois has the better path. But then again, if I think about it, really, the Big 12 is so up for grabs that one of those teams could fall off completely. And because it's so up for grabs and there's no clear front runner in the conference, like Utah could, mess around and end up winning the thing. So I think Illinois, just based off of pure schedule right now, the way it looks right now, I would give the nod to them for the easiest route. But I think that there is a potential that both of these teams can end up being 8-4, 7-5 teams. Which would be completely against what I said preseason. But, I mean, just watching them play on Saturday and seeing what they have left on their schedule, I could see it happening on both sides.
Yeah, 100%. And I did just look. Vegas is telling us that Utah still has a shot. Illinois does not. Utah still plus 500 to make the playoff. Illinois is now plus 2,200 to make the playoff. Some notable teams in front of them to make the playoff in their conference. Iowa and Nebraska have better odds than them to make the playoff. So interesting stuff there. So just an interesting talking point I would like to bring up. Like I said, both of those teams kind of got last week. Oh, we didn't even get into this. I don't know how these slides got arranged. We'll take a little break. As always, go follow us on our socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. TikTok, I'm trying, man. It's really hard with our schedules just to be active in this stuff. The main thing is we want to get the content out to you, to all of our loyal listeners who I know like to tune in and listen to us every week. Shout out Daniel Reamer. Shout out Riker Brownfield. I know y'all are listening. Twitter, we try. I mean, it's just hit or miss, man. Depends on what the day looks like. Instagram, Hunter does a great job. I will say, if you are listening to this and you don't follow us on Instagram, go follow us. Hunter is the best about keeping the Instagram updated, not just on the weekends, but throughout the week. He's always sharing stuff. So we appreciate him for that. Now let's dive in game by game. We'll start with Texas Tech and Utah. Texas Tech goes on the road to Rice-Eccles Stadium, 34-10. Utah closed, I think, at a 3-point favorite. Big noon kickoff was there, 12 o'clock kick. Local time was 10, maybe 9. So early game. If you didn't like defense, if you don't like watching good defense, this wasn't the game for you. If you don't like watching sloppy football, this wasn't the game for you. Turnover after turnover after turnover throughout the game. I'll start what I take away from this. Excuse me. My biggest takeaway, when we were talking preseason about Utah, I think we were a little bit blinded by the fact, and we kind of narrated this ourselves. Devin Dampier, a dual threat quarterback, kind of an X-factor guy that can take over at any time, coming from New Mexico with his offensive coordinator. That package, I feel like I'll say myself at least, I was blinded by the fact that that's going to automatically translate in the Big 12 when he's coming from playing in school in New Mexico. What conference are they in? Doesn't matter. Mountain West, maybe. Anyways, I think we were blinded by that a little bit, and I don't think he's had the test for us to show it. And he faced the defense who Texas Tech, they went and bought the world. They have a great secondary. Their front seven dominated Utah, and there wasn't a downfield threat in the passing game with Dampier. And when there was, it wasn't on time. He missed throws, and the box score doesn't really show it. His numbers, Dampier, he went 25 of 38, did throw 2 picks. 25 of 38, you look at that and you're like, okay, he played pretty great. 1, I don't think that's Utah's identity to have to throw the ball 38 times in a game. 2, he threw for 162 yards on 25 completions. That's 4.3 yards per attempt or per completion. That's not going to cut it. And then obviously 2 picks, 0 passing touchdowns. My biggest thing with Utah is the downfield pass game. I know I've said that twice already, but watching that game on Saturday, they were so predictable on offense, especially early on. It was run, and then pass. Or if it was a pass, it wasn't going more than 5 yards down the field. There was a play that got called back. They had Dampier made a crazy throw way down the field that scored. I think it was more of a pop pass, if I remember correctly, to a tight end or fullback that he scored on, but it got called back for a hold. So that's my biggest fear with Utah, and the fact that offensive line can get exposed. There was a lot of talk all week last week. Every college football show that previewed this game talked about Utah's offensive line. The 2 first-round picks they have, Lemieux and Fano, both going to probably be in first-round picks. And all front 5 got bullied the entire game. Dampier, I think, only got sacked once, but they stopped the run. They closed the pocket on him and forced him to get the ball out of his hands. It wasn't that I was not impressed with Utah's offensive line, and I did not expect Utah to be that behind schedule offensively throughout the game. I thought eventually it'd click. It'd be slow, fast-moving drives. They couldn't get a first down. They couldn't flip the field at all for a majority of the game. A little bit about Texas Tech. I did not think Texas Tech would come in and out-physical Utah, and they did for 4 quarters. Like we talked about last week, Utah's a place that's hard to win. They don't lose at home, and you're not going to be the more physical team. You're not going to be a faster team and come out hotter. Texas Tech did. They showed that. They were ready to play an early kickoff and hit Utah right in the mouth for 4 quarters, and that's a team that they've kind of bought with NIL money through the transfer portal. And I wouldn't expect that, because my belief is they're just getting paid to come play. They're not really meshed together as a team enough, bought into the program enough to do so, and that's exactly what they did. So good part on Texas Tech. Another thing on Texas Tech, Baron Morton looked really good, 12 of 19, 142 yards, did throw 2 picks, but he controlled the game well and just didn't – he wasn't what's the word I'm looking for? Didn't put them in a position to lose. I know he threw 2 picks, but, the problem wasn't Baron Morton, in my opinion. Utah has a great defense. We know that. It's a tough place to go score a lot of points. But the main story for Texas Tech's offense, Will Hammond, backup, QB2, comes in, 13 of 16, 169 yards, 2 tuds, 10.6 yards per completion. And the biggest stat from him, he 8 carries, 61 yards. There were so many times in that game on third down, the key third downs, where he'd take off with his legs. As a backup quarterback on the road against Utah, that's a big deal. So I don't know the extent of Baron Morton's injury, but they look pretty fine with Will Hammond to me, and the team rallied around him. You could tell that. So, Tyler, I'll let you go. I know I just threw a lot out there. I sound like Hunter, just throwing it all out there. But you take this one away and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I think that Utah had this game close right there in it in the fourth, and they kind of just pissed down their leg. I mean, it turned very sloppy very quickly. I was kind of in and out watching this game at work, but from what I saw, I think that the offensive line has to be better. Kind of like what you were mentioning, Jake. They didn't really, Dampier didn't get sacked a lot, but Texas Tech was able to reset the line of scrimmage 2 yards in the backfield just about every play, and that's not going to cut it when you're trying to establish a run game that can set up the pass game for Dampier. And you also have to have a run game to set up the option play for Dampier. If you want to get him out on the edge running the football to pick up 7 yards of carry, you have to have the ability to run the ball through the middle in order to set that up. Because if you don't, they're going to sit on your read option every time. And I think that is very going to be something crucial for that Utah offense. They got to figure that out. I think that Texas Tech, this was their game to prove that they're here. And what's his name? Baron Morton. This was his game to kind of lead the team and show them, hey, we're here, we're ready to go. And with him getting hurt, it kind of throws a loop in that plan. However, like you said, the backup looked good, came in, got the job done. But I don't think that because of the injury to Morton, I think that this doesn't necessarily set them as the, hey, this was our showcase game. We're here now. Let's go play. We'll play anybody. I don't think you could say that yet because they didn't have the guy that they're going to have the rest of the season under center. So I think that that's kind of they looked good. Yeah, they got the job done. They came away with a big win. However, it's not what they really wanted because they wanted to see how Baron would play in this game. So again, backup came in, did a really excellent job. They scored 24 points in the fourth, capitalized off of turnovers, and they won the game handedly. But I don't think I'm ready to say Texas Tech is here because I want to see Morton in a bigger spotlight than what he was able to show on Saturday.
Yeah, good stuff. And I'm glad you bring that up because it's kind of hard to gauge that game because, I mean, yes, they went on the road and beat Utah. That's amazing. That's a big thing. Utah just didn't have an offense. Like, it wasn't there. And like you said, you brought up with Utah's offense, in order to open up that passing game for Devin Dampier, because he's not going to be able to throw the ball 38 times every game. You're going to be in the losing spot every time. You have to be able to run the ball. And they just weren't able to get anything going. I would like to know the stat of how many runs they had over 7 yards. They just couldn't get it going. They would run the ball on first and second down and get 3rd and 3. But Texas Tech's third down defense was amazing. And they played up on the sticks, up on you too. And they didn't have an answer for it. So, but Texas Tech, yeah, like you said, I'm not all the way bought in on them yet. And I wasn't bought into them on the preseason. I need to see it a little bit more. But props to them for playing a physical game, playing 4 quarters, having a backup come in, and you still win by 24 points on the road, the defense. So, yeah, good for them. And looking at their schedule, they have a bye this week. Then they go to Houston in 2 weeks. Houston, I think that's going to be another game they probably blow out because Houston, I read today that they're having some trouble on offensive line. They have like 3 starters out. And Texas Tech's front 7, they're legit. They are legit. Then they got Kansas at home, at Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, BYU at home, UCF at home, and at West Virginia. I can see 1 loss, and that's probably at Arizona State. And Arizona State hadn't proven us much so far. Like, I think Texas Tech, they're not a lock for the playoff, but you could sell me on their lock for the Big 12 championship after this, just because that schedule meant they get to play Kansas at home, BYU at home, at West Virginia. Week 12 might sneak up on them. I don't know. They got everything they want right in front of them. So, anything else you got on this game?
I think that when you look at how this sets them up going forward, I know you just went through Texas Tech's schedule, but like you said, I'm not completely sold on it. I want to see what they can do a little later on in the season. I know that they, they have the bye week and then they play Houston, which isn't going to be that much of a challenge. But I also want to see what they can do later on in the season. I'm not going to buy fully into that. Utah, it's now or never. You have to come out and win, and you have to come out and play dominant football now. After you take that loss, because you like we kind of said in the 1st and 10, you do have a route. Like there is still a chance that you can do this, but
and it's the Big 12. Like anything
but it's now or never. You can't mess around in the Big 12 because somebody will emerge and it'll just happen that way. So you've got to fix it. You got to fix it. Maybe we see a rematch this game later on in the year.
That'd be nice. Actually, it would not be nice as far as watching because it was a pitiful game to watch, especially in the second half. But good narrative. On to the next game. This is a good one. Auburn and Hugh Freeze travels to Oklahoma in Norman. Oklahoma was favored by 6.5 points in this game. Very close throughout. Very exciting matchup. Kind of sloppy. Oklahoma wins and a crazy cover at the end. They were up 22-17. Got a sack on Jackson Arnold in the end zone to get the backdoor cover. Tyler, you still there? No, maybe not. Maybe he had to pee. So I'll go. I will start by saying Auburn. In this, my opinion, I didn't really have a strong side in this one. I wasn't. I didn't like the number. I just couldn't decide. It was more of a coin flip for me. I think I did pick Auburn. Maybe. I can't remember what I picked. I did think they were going to cover and it'd be a 1-score game. But with that being said, Oklahoma won. I do believe Auburn, if they had a quarterback, if they had John Mateer and it was Oklahoma with John Mateer versus Auburn with John Mateer, Auburn wins that football game 9 times out of 10. I really believe that. They played strong physical football for 4 quarters, hung in there. And I'm not one to make excuses. It's Auburn. I'm a Georgia fan. I hate Auburn. But 2 calls that screwed them. And yes, I'm going to bring up the rest because it's been a big story. And the SEC came out and made a statement about it. In the first half, 7 points taken off the board on the fumble that Auburn scored on. And that got Oklahoma ended up going down and scored. That call getting turned over, that screwed them. Hugh Freeze was about to crash out. And I think this happened in the second half. Oklahoma was driving and they hit the guy on the Oklahoma sideline, which I think shouldn't be a rule. It's your job as a defense to catch that. But SEC did say that it was a rule that you can't do that. And the rest got it wrong. So that's kind of a 14-point swing. And I think this game would have went way differently if either of those would have been reversed, especially the first one, because that would have put Auburn, I don't remember the exact time stamp of when that happened, but that would have put them in the lead of the game. I think it was 3-3, and that would have made it 10-3. So I think that really screwed Auburn in the sense that they weren't able to win the game. Number 2 thing that I took away was special teams play. I know that I said that Auburn got screwed by the refs, but they kind of beat themselves, especially in the SEC. Big-time games like this, traveling on the road, you got to play good at all 3 dimensions: offense, defense, special teams. Special teams, the bad snap on the punt that ended up getting blocked by Oklahoma. They did score on this, I believe. I don't remember. I can't remember. You have to double-check me on that. But Oklahoma had the ball, and they're in Auburn's territory right after that. That screwed Auburn big time and missed a field goal early on that ended up leading to Oklahoma go score points. So that's 2 special teams plays that you can't – I mean, I get a missed field goal, but the punt, the bad snap, you don't see that snap like that a lot in college football. I don't know what it was, but he one-hopped it to the guy. Oklahoma's guy was there, blocked it. That's going to make me really mad. I don't know if they scored on that or not. I'm pretty sure they scored on it. Do you know, Tyler?
I don't off the top of my head.
Hold on. Let me get this bad boy pulled up here. So, yeah, Auburn, bad snap. Oklahoma blocks it. They do score 2 plays later on a 24-yard touchdown pass for John Mateer. Tyler, I'll let you go since you haven't had anything to say on this. I have a few more points I'll bring up. What are your thoughts on the ref situation, the calls that were made in that game, or anything else you got taken away from this one, specifically what I said about how I believe Auburn deserved to win that game?
So I think that the game does look significantly different if they do get these calls right. However, I hate when this happens and they come out and say, "Oh, the ref got this call wrong," yada yada yada. Okay, it happens. It's sports. It happens in every single sport. There's some kind of mess up. Refs are human. So let's back it up a minute. Okay, it happened. Yes, I think Auburn probably might sneak away with a win in this one had it not been miscalled. But I don't think that we can complain too much because that's a part of sports, man. The thing with the guy going to the sideline, yeah, that's sneaky, a little bit bush league, but it's also really freaking smart. That's a genius play from Oklahoma's OC.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really have a ton to say on that, other than it's gonna happen in sports. It happens in every single sport. You see it all the time. And yeah, the game probably looks a lot different, but also Auburn shot themselves in the foot. So don't really know how much different it would look. So you never know.
I understand that. A little bit more on Auburn, then we'll get into Oklahoma a little bit more. That they won the game. Jackson Arnold, great runner, can extend the play with his feet very well. He's got to get better as a passer, man. He held on to the ball so long. Thought he threw a good deep ball. They were definitely 50-50 ones, and I feel like they kind of shied away from that in the second half. Like Cam Coleman's that dude, and there were two 50-50 balls that he came down with that were huge for them. One was a touchdown in the red zone. He's got to develop as a passer. I think the back, Alston's a good back. Another back, Jeremiah Cobb, had 6 carries, 61 yards. Haven't heard his name so far. It's mainly been Alston, but Alston's been fighting injury. I think they and Brandon Walker or somebody on Necessary Roughness said this perfectly. Like they're a 10-2, 11-1 roster if they had a quarterback. I think that's how he said it. However that was said. Like that's the perfect way to put it. Like this team, great defense. They get after the quarterback. Offensive line's great. Jackson Arnold, man, he just holds on to the ball for way too long. And that's kind of against my thought on Hugh Freeze. Like I thought that he would have Jackson Arnold even before the Baylor game, like a guy that's going to be involved a lot in the RPO. It's going to be a lot of quick game stuff. We know he's not a guy that's going to sit back there and hold on to the ball forever, and it just hadn't been that thus far. So we'll see if they kind of change that mindset moving forward. But Auburn, man, I think they're solid. I'm not really worried about them. I think that they'll figure it out offensively because I don't think there's much to figure out defensively. I think they played a great defensive game. The next few weeks are going to be telling for them. They got to go to A&M. They got Georgia at home. They got Missouri. They have at Vandy. They have Alabama. So several tough matchups in the coming weeks for them. I'll go to Oklahoma. News did come out that John Mateer is hurt. He suffered a broke hand or finger, something along those lines. So he will be out for at least 3 weeks, I think is what they said. Maybe is what the timetable is on that. But come on, let's be real. He'll be ready in 2 weeks to some extent when they play Texas in the Red River rivalry. Every time, and Hunter's talked about this a lot, especially last week in the preview. Every time he dropped, I'm not even an Oklahoma fan, but there are some quarterbacks when you watch them, regardless if it's NFL, college, hell, high school, if you know the guy, when they drop back to pass, your gut just crashes. Like you're like, oh shit, he's dropping back to pass. What's going to happen? Like that's kind of how I felt about Stetson Bennett a few years ago, just because it was Stetson. I would say early on Stetson. I'm like, what is this guy? What's going to happen here? There's no telling. That's how I feel with John Mateer. Like he wants that big play so bad, and sometimes it bites him in the ass. Sometimes it works, but I don't think that's sustainable with all the tough games that they have to play on their schedule. And it's going to cost them at some point. Like they have yet, and I don't think that shit's going to work when they go on the road. They've have 2 good wins through 4 weeks, Auburn, Michigan. But they haven't went on the road yet and played in an environment. Like, I just don't – that's what worries me with Mateer. Still, the problem with my biggest problem with Oklahoma's offense is they don't have a run game outside of Mateer. They rushed for 32 yards on Saturday on 26 carries. John Mateer, 29 yards to his name. Ollie Gordon didn't play in this one, but the other backs that played, Torrey Blaylock, the back that they went with for the majority, 11 carries, 13 yards. Javante Barnes had 1 carry, 0 yards. They got to find a way to get that run game going. It's the SEC. You have to be able to establish the run game. I think Mateer's ability in the X Factor plays and just him as a quarterback in general has kind of bailed them out where he can turn nothing into something. And he can, yes, if we need to throw the ball 40 times with John Mateer to win the game, we can do that. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that for the 6 tough games they got on their schedule and lead them to a playoff or the SEC championship. They're going to have to find a way to run the ball. It's the SEC. And Auburn did a great job of stopping. I mean, obviously, they only allowed 32 yards, 1.5 yards carry. Credit to Auburn's front 7 for stopping the run. They got after that ass for the entire game. And the defense played great as well. Secondary kind of got not exposed, but a few deep plays that Auburn got away with, deep balls. But, I mean, that's football, 50-50, so you're only going to come down 50% of them. My biggest concern with Oklahoma is they have faced a freshman quarterback going on the road in his first start with no weapons on the outside. And they have faced Jackson Arnold, who went on the road in his first start as the Auburn quarterback on the road and hasn't looked that's not true. They went to Baylor week 1. Sorry. First road SEC start as Auburn's quarterback. How about that? That's 2 quarterbacks they've faced. So I don't think we can – yes, Auburn secondary has played great, and their defense has been sound for the first 4 weeks, but they're going to face Arch Manning. They're going to face Lenore Sellers. They're going to face Trinidad Chambliss. They're going to face Joey Aguilar. They're going to face Ty Simpson in that pass attack. They're going to face Bo Pabula, and they're going to face Garrett Nussmeier. So we're really going to find out about that secondary and that defense because I don't think that they're going to be able to get away. Like, it's all going to have to come together for Oklahoma for it to be perfect. Like, they're going to have to establish a run game, and the secondary is going to have to be what we hope it is because if not, it's going to be a long road ahead. As I just named off all of those opponents that they still have left to play outside of those. They have Kent State. So, yeah, that's what I got on Oklahoma. We'll probably let Hunter say his words on this when he gets back and we get into the preview. But, Tyler, you got anything else on this one?
Yeah, I just want to throw in there, I know that you just talked about Mateer's injury a little bit. They said that to take that full recovery, it's probably going to be more like 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
If he comes out there and play – now, I think he'll play in 2 weeks, yes, and he'll play against Texas. However, if he is not fully healthy against Texas, that's going to be the worst game I've ever watched. Texas offense sucks. Oklahoma's got a good defense. Oklahoma playing with a backup quarterback against Texas's defense, shit. That game's going to be a freaking barn burner. It's going to suck. I don't know if they get out of that one with a win if Mateer is not healthy. I think that's going to be their test. I mean, if he's going to win the Heisman and he's, all this that they say he is, whatever, he's got to come back early from that injury, and he's got to beat Texas. And I think that will be when I will put respect on Oklahoma's name. I'm not going to jump on that train yet. Still not getting on. I can't do it. Auburn, I think, like you said, I think you've got to open up the offense a little bit more. Let Jackson Arnold didn't look good throwing the ball, but if he can figure it out, get him some confidence, then that Auburn team is going to be really scary. So, yeah, that's kind of all I got. I didn't actually have a chance to watch this game on Saturday. So,
good stuff. I think it's real simple for Auburn. I think their recipe for success on offense is run the ball with Austin. I forgot no, it's not Jarquez. That was a running back last year. Something Austin. Kamari, maybe Austin, their running back. Get him fully healthy. Run the ball, read option with him and Arnold. And then get the ball open in space to your playmakers on the outside. They have them, especially Cam Coleman. Get the ball to guys like that quick. It's simple. I think that's the recipe in playing low-scoring games. I think that's how they win this year. So, yeah. Moving on. Next game we got on the slate here. Indiana. Illinois travels to Bloomington, Indiana. 63-10. Like we said in 1st and 10, this game was not close. After the first 5 minutes, it was over quick. I'll start with Illinois. Eating my crow here with Illinois because I was very high on them. Still think they have that path in front of them, like we talked about. But talking more about the game, it was like if the varsity team played the JV team. That's what it looked like. They looked slow. They couldn't keep up with anybody. That anytime a guy was open, I mean, they got like racing to the edge, racing to the sideline. Illinois was there. Indiana could not beat them anywhere. They were slow. And I don't know what that is. Indiana might just be that fast and athletic. Credit to them if so, but I did not expect that aspect of this game. They couldn't tackle. That was another thing. The Indiana, their guys, running backs, and playmakers on the outside made their linebackers secondary. Illinois has a tackling problem. I would love to know how many missed tackles they had on Saturday. And then as far as offense goes for Illinois, experienced offensive line gives up 7 sacks. I don't want to throw all that on the offensive line because if you watch their receivers every time Altmaier dropped back, they couldn't create separation. Indiana played a strong, tight man for a majority of the passing plays, and Illinois could not create separation. On top of that, Luke Altmaier held on to the ball for way too long. I mean, your offensive line can't hold blocks for 10 seconds. You know that, Tyler. So 7 sacks total. Altmaier holding on to the ball too long. Receivers couldn't create separation. I don't think that Illinois has the X factor guy on the outside for Altmaier to get the ball to. I don't think he's there. I think they have several solid guys. I guess I'm pulling up the box score here. Yeah, so Illinois, I mean, offensively, that something's got to change. You got to find a way to correct the passing game and get the ball out of Luke Altmaier's hands quicker because if he has the longer he has the ball, I think the more susceptible they are to turning the ball over and just disaster on offense. As far as outlook for Illinois goes, like we talked about earlier, I think you got to win 2 out of 3 games. USC at Washington, Ohio State, and I'm going to add the 4th one, which is Maryland, in order for them to have a chance to make the playoff. Tyler, I want to hear your thoughts on Illinois, and then we'll get into Indiana.
I'm muted. I just think that, like you said, Illinois looks slow, man. They look like they weren't ready to play. It's not like they traveled a super long distance to play this game, so they can't blame it on like a jet lag kind of thing. I don't really know what happened. I was also really big on Illinois. In fact, I had had a little bit of cash on Illinois this weekend. They just did not look good. They played sloppy. They let one play define them, and it was the blocked punt. Once that happened, it went downhill quickly. You can't do that in any sport, especially the sport of football, and especially at this level. I mean, that is what really ruined them, their morale. And like my great college coach once said, not once, many times, morale is 3-1 in the physical. If you're ready to go, you're ready to play, that outweighs the physical aspect of the game a lot of the time. And they didn't have that. They didn't look ready to go. They didn't look amped up. And I think that they just got to get up for a big game. I think Cignetti had his guys ready. Bielema didn't. So I think it came down to that.
Yeah. On Indiana, Fernando Mendoza, Cal transfer, 21-23, 267 yards, 5 tuds. Biggest thing for them, and it's like what I talked about with what Auburn needs to do. He gets the ball out so quick that there's not time for them to get pressure. They have 2 guys, Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, 2 of their guys on the outside that they get the ball to. Those guys can move, they can fly, and they can make guys miss, which they did all night on Saturday night. They have the recipes there. I think kind of recency bias. I think this is a better look team than last year. I think they have 2 better playmakers on the outside. Mendoza, I think he's a better quarterback than Rourke just because of how he gets the ball out so quick. It wasn't over the top stuff for Illinois or Indiana. It was just get the ball to them and let them work. And as a quarterback, that makes your life so simple. I mean, he went 21 to 20. He had 2 incompletions. They also, as Indiana as a team, like goes along with the speed thing, talking about how Illinois looks slow. They're fast and they're physical. Everybody's rallying at tackles. Illinois, I mean, Indiana, this was a surprise for me. I did not expect this. But I'm not saying they look like Big Ten champions. I think Illinois is a little bit worse than we thought, than me and you expected. But the path's there for them, in my opinion. They go to Iowa, to Oregon, so kind of back-to-back tough spots. Michigan State, UCLA, at Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. Undefeated as it stands right now. If you take care of business this Saturday at Iowa, I have a real good feeling for Indiana to make the playoff even with 2 losses at Penn State and at Oregon. We're going to find out a lot about both of those teams this Saturday. So, and Coach Sig, he's not going to pull off the gas, is he? He says we beat the shit out of top 25 teams, and BG, that's what they did. So credit to them. Fernando Mendoza, they won on that transfer. That's a big win out of the transfer portal for them, and he's actually jumped to the top of the Heisman odds now that the Mateer news has came out that he is hurt. Tyler, you got anything on Indiana?
I'm good. I kind of, like I said, I think they were ready to go. Think that they're a scary team this year. I think they're better than they were last year.
Good stuff. Next game on the big recap, Michigan goes on the road. Bryce Underwood's first Big Ten road start, went 30-27. Michigan's still Michigan, man. They don't have to throw the ball much. They don't have to do much. They don't have to be so pretty every time they go out. They can just run the ball, play good special teams, and win football games. That's my biggest takeaway from this one. And we talk about this every time we talk about Michigan. I think this is the year before the year with them. I think that in the offseason, whenever that portal window opens, that's going to be the biggest landing spot in the country if you are a top-tier receiver, because Bryce Underwood, the next 2 years, it's going to be Heisman talk and it's going to be Natty talk for the Wolverines. A little bit on – and the biggest thing for my takeaway with Michigan is the past few years they've had the same identity. Play good defense, play good special teams, run the football. They've had McCarthy, McNamara. I think that's how you say his name. It's our job to it's not our job to pronounce whatever Hunter says. Y'all know what he's saying. He says it every week. The difference in this for Michigan, which I see them as a threat in the Big Ten, is Bryce Underwood can run the rock. Like, he has the ability to take off at any time and break one loose. I don't think JJ had that one. I don't think we've seen a Michigan quarterback that's had that ability in the past several years. And that kind of thus far has taken over his not inability to throw the ball, but like freshman, like he's a freshman. He's not going to be able to throw complete 75% of his passes and throw for 250 every week. His run game's kind of made up for that, if that makes sense. He had 8 carries, 61 yards, 37-yard touchdown run. He can explode at any moment. And I think that's what makes him such a threat. With Justice Haynes, 17 carries, 149 yards, 75-yard touchdown run. They broke the big one several times. Jordan Marshall, 6 carries, 80 yards, 54-yard touchdown run. They don't have to throw the ball much because they got 2 good backs and they got a third back who plays quarterback. And that's going to be the recipe for success. As far as Nebraska goes, Raiola, man, box score doesn't show it. And it's weird because I've seen a lot of people talk about – a lot of people are on 2 different sides of the spectrum with Dylan Raiola right now. It's either he's playing the quarterback at a really good position, at a really good rate, whatever, right now, and he just doesn't have the guys around him to do so, or he is just trash. I lean more on the side of he's not trash. I don't think he's trash. I just don't think he's got it yet. I don't think he's there yet. I think the progression, the development is coming along very slowly. He holds on to the ball for too long. He tries to be too cute in the pocket. And when he gets sacked, it's bad because he's not ready for it. There's no pocket awareness. Me and Hunter were talking about this on Saturday. When he's in the pocket, it's like he doesn't know that pressure's coming and he can't move. And if he does move, he's moving to pressure, not away from pressure. So that's a concern with me. Throw some good deep balls for the most part. I'm trying to pull up how many times he got sacked on Saturday. He got sacked 7 times. Yeah, holding on to the ball for too long. Didn't expect that. I really thought Nebraska was going to win. But the lesson on this one is, Tyler, if you are ever looking at a point spread and it's like, this makes no sense. It makes no sense that Nebraska is, I wouldn't say, Nebraska is 3-point dogs at home. Illinois, they're 7-point dogs against Indiana. Take the side that you don't want to take, and that proved on Saturday. So I will say that because I got canned on both of these. Nebraska, here's the thing with Nebraska, has not looked great thus far. They beat the shit out of Akron and Houston Christian. Cincinnati, they kind of survived that. Got out of there with a win in week 1. Michigan lost at home. But still, man, 10-2 is still on the table. They got Michigan State, they got Maryland, they got Minnesota, they got Northwestern, they got USC at home. They have to travel across the country to UCLA, at Penn State, and Iowa at home. If they win 2 out of 3 games against USC, Penn State, and Iowa, and 3 out of 4 against Maryland, 10-2 is on the table. Maybe tiebreakers can get them in the Big Ten championship. Just being honest here. So yeah, I still think both of these teams have everything in front of them. Nobody's dead yet on that field, but I mean, Big Ten stacked, man. What's your takeaways from this one? And then we'll move on.
Another game that I was not able to watch. I think after kind of just looking at the game, I think that Nebraska has life. I might have been a little too harsh on Raiola, but I'm still not buying into his, hype that he's going to be some crazy good quarterback. I just don't see it. But I'll tell you who I think is going to be a really good quarterback. That's Bryce Underwood. He's a dog. He's a freaking dog. I'm really excited to see what more development for that guy's going to look like. And I think that him going into Nebraska and coming away with this win just kind of goes to show that he is, he's getting there. And they're going to be a scary team here in about a year or two, especially with him developing a little bit more. So, I have very minimalistic takeaways from this game. I think that Nebraska is solid, not great. I think Michigan is also solid, not great. I think that Bryce Underwood I do think Bryce Underwood is better than Dylan Raiola. But I also think I might have been a little too harsh on the old Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's move on to the rest of the recap. We got 4 games here. Florida goes on the road to Miami. Gets beat 26-7. Had a chance late. This game was one-score game going into the 4th. As far as Florida goes, I think Urban Meyer put it perfectly today. I think Billy Napier's buyout is going to save him, and they're going to ride it out with him. I stand in that right now. That's my belief right now is they're going to ride it out with him because I think they're going to lose not just the team but the fan base if they fire him. And defense, man, they play good defense. Florida plays good defense every week, which doesn't make sense because Billy's an offensive guy, and they can't score points. I think this game's more about Miami. I feel like we're just beating the bush. Is that the phrase I'm trying to say with Florida? Beating what is it?
Beating around the bush.
Beating around the bush. Like, we're saying the same shit about Florida every week, and I'm tired of it. So let the guy coach the rest of the year and then go from there. That we know they play a hard schedule. I don't know why it's a topic of discussion on every show and every Twitter account. Like, the guy sucks. He's not a good coach. We know that. Same story with Sam Pittman. Anyways, I think this game's more about Miami because Miami has shown us through 4 weeks the most out of any team in the country, in my opinion. They are able to beat you in so many different ways. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball with Carson Beck, and they can shut you out defensively. And that's exactly what they did on Saturday is shut you out defensively. I think me and Hunter said the number for Miami was 20, and that's exactly what they did. All they had to do. All they had to score was 10 points. Their defense was legit. Cristobal's got something brewing, man. And like we have said throughout the year and in the previews is they're going to drop one they're not supposed to, but it happened. And there was a big opportunity for that this week, but it has not happened yet. Tyler, you got anything on this one?
I think Billy saved his job this week, not getting absolutely obliterated in this game, and because they hung in so long. I'm kind of, I don't know. There was talk that he'd be fired this week. We saw rest in peace to Mike Gundy and his coaching career at Oklahoma State. But I think that Billy was the next to go. He saved it by keeping this game relatively close. Miami looks very put together. But again, I'm waiting on that one game. And I'm not, until it happens, I'm going to keep saying it because it always does. I think I've heard you and Hunter both say this. I don't think a team will go undefeated on the year. It'll happen at some point. And when it does, it's the difference in this team and last year's team is going to be how do they respond to that game. So we'll see what happens. But I think they look good right now, but I'm not buying too far in.
Yep. Arizona State travels to Baylor, gets a big Big 12 opening win. Arizona State is now 1-0 in Big 12 play. Baylor's now 2-2, but only 0-1 in the Big 12. Still a path there for them. Me and Hunter were talking about this. We didn't get the memo that we flipped styles of play between the Big 10 and the Big 12, because now the Big 12, they got point totals up in the 60s, up in the high 50s, and they don't score points. In the Big 10, they got point totals in the high 30s and low 40s, and they score a shit ton of points. I don't know when we decided to flip that, but it yields good football. I didn't get to watch much of this one. I don't think you did either. I think both teams still have what they want in front of them. I do not think that Sam Leavitt, they got a lot to figure out in that passing attack at Arizona State. I'm not really worried about the rushing game without Scatabo. Raleek Brown, Kanye Udo, the transfer from Army, both good backs thus far. But my concern with Arizona State, me and Hunter talked about this, they don't have that number 2 guy outside of Jordan Tyson. And that showed on Saturday again. It's just not. He's looking at Tyson every time he drops back. Baylor, 2-2, still have everything they want right in front of them. Michael Trigg, tight end for Baylor, 5 catches, 71 yards, 2 tuds. He's an absolute stud. And if you have not watched him play football, you need to go look up his highlights because this guy is really good. Big body, can catch it in traffic and can move. So, yeah, you got anything on this one, Tyler?
Just real quick, I think Sawyer Robertson's one of the better quarterbacks statistically in the country. I think he's really talented. I love watching him play. I love going back and watching highlights of Baylor games because I don't ever watch them on Saturdays. But watching his games back, I enjoy watching him play. He's a smooth player. I think Arizona State came away with this one because they're just a more balanced team. I think Baylor has a good, solid program. But Arizona State was hungry, and they're just a little bit more of a balanced team. So I think that's why they came away with this one. But I think that Baylor is a sneaky team in the Big 12 this year, moving forward.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Guess I didn't cut you off there, did I? Next game, another Big 12 game that went under the point total. SMU travels to TCU. And TCU pulls away late, 35-24. I feel for you if you had SMU against the spread here. This is a very bad beat. TCU, a team I'm very high on. I think TCU is up there with Texas Tech as far as Big 12 front runners because this offense, man, and they played good defense. They contained Kevin Jennings very well. Kevin Jennings only had 13 rushing yards, which is that's uncharacteristic of him. Josh Hoover, 22 of 40, 375 yards, 5 tuds. Eric McAllister, transfer from FAU or FIU. 8 catches, 254 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And on top of that, they have Jordan Dwyer, Joseph Manjack, several good backs. Barnes didn't even play. This offense, man, they can score points. They can score quickly. And they have guys that can get after it on the outside, like McAllister, man. Go and watch his highlights on Saturday because every time he got the ball, he was going to score. He played with not a chip on his shoulder, I wouldn't say, but he has been very quiet for the first few weeks, and everybody knows about him now. I think TCU 2-0, 3-0 so far. Hadn't played any Big 12 play yet. We're going to find out a lot about them on Friday night when they go to Arizona State. I think they play on the road for this one. So big one coming up for them. I think an SMU, man, it's what we talked about with SMU in the preseason is kind of coming to life, where it was a good story last year. But outside of Kevin Jennings and RJ Maryland, there's just not much there. And I don't think they're going to be able to be that tier 1 team, be in the new era of tier 1 in the ACC this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that last year, it was really cool. They made the first 12-team playoff, got it done. This year is a different story. Those TCU Horned Frogs, man, they're kind of gross. I mean,
the offense is disgusting, dude. They are nasty.
Yeah, and you said it preseason. Josh Hoover, man, holy shit, guy looks really good. I mean, he looks really freaking good, and that's another team. I think right now they're probably the front runner in the Big 12, aren't they?
I don't know as far as odds-wise goes, but I mean, outside of them and Texas Tech, Baylor's 2-2. Arizona State got beat by Mississippi State. Who else? Houston, Colorado. It's a short list. Kansas. The Big 12, so Kansas State's dead. Iowa State, that's who we forgot. I knew we were forgetting. I would say it's Iowa State, TCU, and Texas Tech as far as frontrunners go in the Big 12. But as far as the Big 12 goes, there's no team with 2 losses yet. You can't start counting anybody out yet in the Big 12, except for Kansas State. They are so dead. But yeah, it's anybody's league in the Big 12 right now. TCU looks great. I think they do have the most complete offense and one of the more complete offenses in the entire country. Moving on, my favorite game of the week, Syracuse. The Fighting Fran Browns travel to Death Valley Jr. Dabo Swinney, Cade Klubnik, Antonio Williams, Sammy Brown, Wade Woodhouse. They're all dead. Just got manhandled. And Dabo made a call to Mother Nature at halftime and said, look, I need like 2.5 hours to get my team ready so we don't lose another game at home. And came out of the rain delay, still got that ass whooped. It wasn't even close. It's like, I watched the entire game. I even watched this going into the midway through the 3:30 slate because I just one, I had Syracuse. 2, it was like so entertaining to watch because you've never Syracuse, they ran all over them. They moved the ball so quickly. There were a few times they could have scored north of 40 points here. They really could have. They a lot of times they would get down in the red zone and turn it over or come away with just 3. Clemson's dead. Syracuse, bad news for them. And Jelly went out and is out for the year. But the backup came in. It didn't make it damn because they went right down the field and scored. He did a touchdown pass immediately. That Clemson, that deep Clemson defense that's supposed to be able to stop the damn Philadelphia Eagles from scoring. They have not stopped nobody, which actually I'll take that back. Their defense has played solid, but Syracuse ran all over them. Clemson's officially dead, deader than dead. They're dead. There's no scenario anymore for them. Syracuse, good win. Shout out to Fran Brown. I'm not going to say transferred, but went from Georgia as a Kirby Smart assistant for a few years, took over Syracuse's program, a big year one with Kyle McCord, Orange Galston, or whatever you say his name, tight end. Pena was a big receiver for them. A great year for Syracuse last year in year one. And year 2 it has translated. Tennessee, they put up a lot of points. They just couldn't stop that Tennessee offense. Won a crazy game against UConn at home in a double overtime thriller. And still, just found a way to win. And then they go on the road and beat Clemson. And I don't care how dead Clemson is. For a team like Syracuse, travel in a new era and a new culture of Syracuse traveling on the road to the daddy of the ACC over the past several years and winning, that's the biggest confidence builder you could ask for. I think you would agree with me on that. So anything you got on this one?
Yeah, here's where I eat my crow. I'm off the train. I'm off the boat. I jumped off. don't even give me a life vest. Don't even throw me a freaking whatever. I'm done. They're pathetic, awful. I did like was it this week? Did Davo have the comment that when he said if you don't want to win, you can go ahead and fire me or something like that? When did he say
Last week, yeah,
that?
last week. So if you don't want to win, fire me. I'm not ready to go to the beach. I'm still young. Which I think he's going to be a great coach somewhere else. I think everybody needs a fresh start. Offensive coordinator. Originally, I was like maybe fire the offense, maybe fire Garrett Riley, get Cade Klubnik, go get another court. No, I think we need a fresh start.
Yeah,
I'm Clemson.
I'm jumping off the boat. Clemson, you suck. You have ruined my entire predictions for this year. So screw you, Sammy Brown. Next question.
So that is pretty much all we have for the Week 4 recap. I'm going to run through a few more of these games. Tyler, real quick, just cleaning up. Friday night, Tulsa goes on the road, beats Oklahoma State 19-12. Mike Gundy is officially dead. Very unfortunate, very a big coach of our lifetime. Mine, like ours specifically, like he's had Oklahoma State in a good spot for the majority of our life, and sad to see him go. A good guy. Iowa goes on the road and beats Rutgers in a thriller on Friday night, 38-28. Let's see where Oregon blows Oregon State out of the water, 41-7. Florida State, if they're not a Power 5 team, they're going to score 60 on you. If you're not a Power 5 team, Texas wins 55-0 against the worst sports team in the NCAA. Sam Houston. Ole Miss dominates at Tulane. We'll let Hunter talk about that one. 45-10. Tennessee rolls. Georgia Tech rolls. Vandy drops 70 on Georgia State. Missouri. Here's a game we should probably talk about a little bit. Beat South Carolina 29-20. Wasn't really ever a doubt that this game was going to be in favor of South Carolina. South Carolina probably dead. Outside of the first 15 plays that Lenore Sellers and that offense runs, they look lost on offense. In my opinion, I mean, it looks like chaos. It looks like they're scrambling all the time offensively. Ahmad Hardy again goes for 100 plus, goes for 22 carries, 138 yards, and a tud. USC, another win. USC is a team I think we're about to fuck around and find out about here soon, Tyler. I hate to say it, but they can put up points, and I think Lincoln Riley, it might be I'm not saying national championship, but the year. There's 12 teams that are going to get there, and I think this USC team's one of them that's right there. Memphis, thriller, low-key best game of the week, gets a big win at home over Arkansas. This game was sloppy from start to finish. I enjoyed watching this one. 32-31 win over Arkansas. Taylor Green's, I mean, he's so good. He's like playing video games out there, but not enough to win. Maryland 4-0 beat Wisconsin on the road 27-10. Let's see what else we got. UNLV, another thriller game for the 12 o'clock slate, beats Miami, Ohio on the road 41-38. They were down 14 twice in this, 2 scores twice in this, and managed to win. North Texas, my new darling, wins 45-38 on the road against Army, Tyler. I don't think you expect me to say this, but they're here. They're a sneaky group of 5 team to make the playoff. I'll talk about that more in the preview when we talk about week 5 here directly. UCF, Saturday shocker didn't go as planned. UNC got boat raced, and I will never wager on the fighting Bill Belichick's again. JMU, another sneaky G5 team, goes on the road and dominates Liberty 31-13. Western Michigan, little action here, beats Toledo at home 14-13. Toledo was the favorite in the MAC, and they are now 0-1 in the MAC. So interesting there. MAC play during the week's coming up soon. Duke gets back on track, covers, and wins at home against NC State 45-33. What else we got here, Tyler? Kansas dominates at home against West Virginia after West Virginia is coming off a huge win against Pitt. What else we got here? What else? Washington, another big win for them. 59-24 win over Washington State on the road. Damon Williams, 16-19, 298 yards, 4 tuds, 13 carries, 88 yards, and a tud. We might be talking a lot about Damon Williams after Saturday. I'm just saying. Virginia, dominant win against Stanford at home, 48-20. I think that's all we got. We've talked about everything. Hawaii, good teams win, great teams cover. That's all I'll say. They stayed within the number on Saturday night, Sunday morning. Tyler, you got anything else before we get out of here, big dog? Good. As always, go subscribe to our YouTube. Go comment on our videos. Go like our videos. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. We appreciate Tyler for putting these out for us. And that's podcast 129, week 4 recap.